If you're looking for one of the best intelligence builds for the Elden Ring DLC, you came to the right place. This build was created to maximize the potential of one of the most powerful spells in the game, Carian Sovereignty, which just so happens to be one of the new spells introduced with the DLC. This spell can be charged for extra damage, has a follow-up attack for AoE, and will knock every enemy to the ground. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Damn Mods. If you don't have time to grind for items or runes, Damn Mods will help you max out your character incredibly fast. This service works on all platforms, has a 5-star rating on Trustpilot, and can make your experience way more enjoyable. Don't forget to use my code ColdBwoyy at checkout for up to $100 off. Carian Sovereignty transforms your weapon into a massive magical greatsword and slams it in a vertical slash. The best weapon type to use for this skill is a greatsword because of the extra poise you receive when casting your spell. This is very important since a fully charged Carian greatsword deals the most damage and you don't want to be constantly knocked out of your animation. Greatswords also deal piercing damage, which is the best damage type in the game. I'm using a fully upgraded cold iron greatsword with 127 frost buildup. The extra frostbite buildup is nice considering it increases the damage your target will take by 20%. The damage of the Carian Sovereignty skill scales with intelligence, which means it will do the same damage no matter which weapon you use, just as long as your intelligence and upgrade level remain the same on each weapon. This build has a relatively simple playstyle, but can be expanded depending on which type of spells you like to use. I will say though, all you need is Greatblade Phalanx and the Knight Comment. Greatblade Phalanx is an extra line of defense that deals stance damage to your enemies and also slightly increases the window of time for you to execute the Carian Sovereignty weapon skill. I'm not sure how well it compares to Glintblade Phalanx in terms of stance damage, but I will say it is extremely effective. Knight Comet adds a ranged attack to your build, making it easier for you to eliminate flying enemies or even enemies you don't want to be near when attacking. The spell itself is also invisible to enemies, removing the ability for them to dodge it or anticipate an attack. The hyper armor from the greatsword is nice, but you'll need to equip some armor to increase your poise even further. One aspect of this build I can see people struggling with is timing. Even though your damage capabilities are very high on this build, you won't feel very effective without patience. This weapon skill requires perfect timing to deal the most amount of damage possible, and even though your survivability is high, it can become a problem when you're fighting aggressive enemies and bosses if you're not patient. The first talisman on this build is the Shard of Alexander. This talisman increases the damage of your weapon skill by 15%. The Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman is essential for this build since it enormously boosts damage negation, giving you way more time to fully charge your weapon skill. The Magic Scorpion Charm increases all magic damage by 12%, applying to both your weapon skill and spells. Godfrey's Icon is the last talisman on this build and is a perfect choice to help you enhance the damage of your weapon skill even further. Godfrey's Icon increases the damage of Carian Sovereignty by 15%, stacking on top of Shard of Alexander, buffing the damage of your weapon skill by 30%. Overall, this build provides an incredibly fun playstyle that makes you feel like a powerful battle mage. High damage melee attacks, quick frostbite buildup, high stance damage, and one of the most powerful spells in Shadow of the Erdtree. At level 50, you'll begin to prioritize Vigor to increase your HP, Mind for more focus points, with Intelligence being your highest stat at 30. If you want the early game version of this build, which includes a full tutorial of how to obtain each item, weapon, and spell, then you need to check out my Gravity Sorcerer build. I'll put a link at the top of the screen right now. At level 100, you'll add a slight increase to Vigor, increasing your survivability even further, 20 Endurance to help you execute more attacks in quick succession, 20 Strength to increase physical attack power, and 60 Intelligence providing you a massive damage increase to spells and weapon skills. Level 150 is where you increase your HP drastically since your mind, endurance, and intelligence are already at a good spot. Although I will say pay attention to your stamina to ensure you can equip the armor you want without reaching a heavy equipment load. You'll also increase your strength to 40, adding a massive damage boost to your greatsword. Level 200 is where this build really shines, allowing you to min-max mind, endurance, and intelligence. 30 mind will let you cast more attacks with your weapon skill and spells. 30 endurance will allow you to carry heavier armor, and 80 intelligence will guarantee high damage with your weapon skill, which also further enhances the damage of your cold iron greatsword thanks to the intelligence scaling. The main melee weapon on this build is a fully upgraded cold iron greatsword, 450 physical attack power, 302 magic attack power, B tier scaling for strength, C tier scaling for intelligence, with 127 frost buildup. For the weapon skill, Carian Sovereignty. This skill transforms your weapon into a magical greatsword and slams it in a vertical slash, allowing for an additional follow-up attack. The Carian Sovereignty weapon skill can be found near the Cathedral of Manus, Site of Grace. You'll find the Ash of War right inside of a cave at the very end of this route. In my left hand, I have a fully upgraded Carian regal sceptar. This staff is obtained from Renalla, the Moon Queen, after trading in her remembrance, and it also has the highest intelligence scaling, giving you the most amount of damage possible with your spells. For the spells, like I mentioned, all you need is Greatblade Phalanx and the Knight Comet. Greatblade Phalanx is going to be that extra line of defense that's going to deal very high stance damage to enemies, and it will also increase the window of time so you can execute the Carian Sovereignty weapon skill more often. Knight Comet is your main ranged attack. It's going to make it very easy to kill flying enemies that you don't want to get close to, and it's also extra DPS from range when you're fighting bosses as well. The Knight Comet is also invisible to enemies, removing the ability for them to dodge it. For the armor, I'm using the Marias Mask, Relana's Chest Piece, the Fire Gauntlets, and Relana's Greaves. This armor provides 52 poise for your character and also fits the build perfectly, letting you kill enemies in style, of course. The first talisman on this build is the Shard of Alexander. This talisman increases the damage of your weapon skill by 15%. The Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman is essential for this build because it enormously boosts damage negation. Obviously, this is going to be very important because you do want higher survivability so you can execute your weapon skill more often. The Magic Scorpion Charm increases all magic damage by 12%, and this applies to both your weapon skill and your spells. The last talisman is Godfrey's Icon, which pairs perfectly well with the Shard of Alexander, considering both talismans are going to stack, giving you a total of 30% extra damage with the Carian Sovereignty skill. For my Wondrous Physick mix, I have the Magic Shrouding Crack tier, which boosts magic damage by 20%, and the Opaline Hard tier, which provides 15% extra defense, helping you cast Carian Sovereignty with more confidence thanks to the extra survivability. I have to say, this is an incredible intelligence build that provides high damage, high survivability, and an extremely satisfying playstyle. Thank you all so much for watching the video and sticking around until the end. We are less than 1,000 subscribers away from 100k, and it's all thanks to you guys. I am truly grateful. If you want to see more Elden Ring videos just like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on those bell notifications so you never miss any future videos.